What makes you think that I'm an answer if you ain't mine? Even if you call me up.
All right, guys. So this Yasuke Assassin's Creed situation isn't going away. The internet is still on fire. It's not even really the aftermath because it's still going. Okay, my Twitter has been burning down. Okay, good lord. So we're gonna get into it. There's a lot of misinformation, conflicting information. On one end, you got people that say Japanese people and American people and people from all over the world that say there's no evidence to suggest that Yasuke was ever a samurai. But then there's people who are saying that he was a retainer, which was technically a samurai who would carry around weapons for actual samurai. So I have a clip that I want you guys to see. And listen, if he actually historically was a samurai, then fine, we'll be there. But I don't think that's like the overall point. We'll take the L if he actually was a samurai. I didn't think that he was a samurai. I was told, or I read, at least what I thought I read for years, that he was just a slave, a really respectable slave. They used to prance him around like a pet, just a glorified pet. But here's a clip right here. I don't know how reputable this guy is, but we're gonna play it.
Let me first start from the most famous foreign samurai, Yasuke. In the Civil War era, many slaves were brought to Japan by European merchants and diplomats. Yasuke was one of those slaves that was brought to Japan by Italian Jesuit. He was born in Africa, where Mozambique is now. Yasuke met the strongest samurai at that time, Oda Nobunaga, in 1581. Oda Nobunaga is the first samurai that almost conquered all of Japan. He was called the Devil due to his aggressive attitude and violent nature. This powerful samurai was very interested in his African slave, so he asked the Italian Jesuit to let him stay in Japan. The slave didn't have a name, so Nobunaga decided to call him Yasuke. Yasuke was 182 centimeters in a time when the average height of a man was 154 centimeters. Also, in some historical records.
First of all, that's insane. So Yasuke was out there. Yasuke was out there 5'9" while everybody else was like 5 foot. That's insane. So they probably thought he was like a giant or something like that. Like that's probably why they was so he was out there in Japan dancing on them. You know what I'm saying? He like, look at y'all little midgets and all that. But he was still a slave though. Let's not get it twisted. So anyway, let's get back to it.
It is explained that Yasuke had strength worth 10 men. He was also a very honest and hardworking man. So he was officially allowed by Oda Nobunaga to carry katanas like samurais and own his own house. Yasuke would even hold Nobunaga's weaponry from time to time, which was a very honorable job because it meant that he was truly trusted. This means that Yasuke was in a much higher rank than most Japanese at that time. Oda Nobunaga died in a fire set by a traitor subordinate in 1582. Yasuke was staying at the same temple that night. Yasuke ran to tell the allies that there is a traitor and to protect the son of Oda Nobunaga. He was defeated and caught, but was released due to his loyalty. There are no historical records about what happened to him afterwards. Yasuke is very popular and famous in Japan, so there are many books, mangas, and movies about him. If you're interested, I hope you can check them out.
All right, so you heard what he had to say there. So like I said, I don't know how reputable this guy is. I haven't fact checked him on anything. So based on the words used here, he was a samurai. But the overall point, like I said, I don't know if I did say in the last video, is that when we were all waiting on a Japanese version of Assassin's Creed for what, 15 years, right? For 15 years, and I have to cut that part out. For 15 years, and we finally get one, and instead of putting a Japanese person in there, you put a black person in there. And here's the thing, like I said on Twitter, Asians really just don't like black people like that. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And so it's kind of a slap in the face to them to do that. But there's a lot of guys, yikes. There's a lot of reactions going on. People are all over the place. It's arguments. It's ridiculous. I actually said, I wanted to point out another comment. So this was actually in my YouTube comments, right? This person here I thought was a pretty interesting argument. I hate all the pandering and woke shit as well, But to play devil's advocate, I think Ubi had to do something to stand out against Ghost and Ronin since they are late to the party on this one. They're not race swapping. They're not filling the protagonist role with a random black guy. This is an intriguing historical figure. And the fish out of water aesthetic and the challenges he'd likely face could add on additional layer of storytelling, something Yubi generally lacks. Even Netflix ran a series on Yasuke recently, so there is some interest in that person, which I watched, by the way. This is really the only way that they could stand out against the others without having some crazier shit in there. And I think that's a very compelling argument. He also goes on to say a few other things. We won't dive into it. But, you know, I mean, to me, this is still obviously pandering. The only reason you did this was pandering. Okay, like every other Assassin's Creed game had someone who fit the culture ethnically in the surroundings and all of that. And it's not about whether or not they was fighting monsters. It's the setting and the aesthetic of it. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna put a white guy as the protagonist in the middle of a goddamn African tribe. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes no sense. Depending on the context of the story, obviously. There's a lot of discussion about The Last Samurai, which, by the way, Tom Cruise was not the last samurai in this situation, and there was backlash over this, okay? Like, there's a whole lot of it. Like, this is getting ridiculous, guys. So, I don't know. You know, we'll see how this game performs. We'll see the story that they told. Like I said that a Yasuke game would be far more appropriate. Like, why don't we, like I said in this tweet, why don't we as black people gather some black creators and create our own game about Yasuke, partner with Japanese consultants to make sure we are respectful to their land and culture. Oh, that's right. Niggas is too lazy to do that. We got to wait for Master to make it for us. And to me, that's the fact. I don't think that's the thing. Like I did the math in that video where I talked about fighting Cowboy, where I just don't think it's enough black people in the industry to actually notice how, like, every time some developers get fired, they go off and they make their own studio, right? Who were the last black video game developers to go off and make their own studio? Somebody let me know. Like, oh, we got fired from Ubisoft, or we got fired from Microsoft, or we got fired from Bungie, or whatever the case may be. Let's go off and make our own studio and make our own games. Like, now maybe you can say there are some out there that just don't get the same recognition because maybe of racism. I don't know. But I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later.
Fuck you. Oh, fuck you, fuck you.